Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show, highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyles, community, and neighborhood. And now, from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Happy June and happy summer, Dorothy. We're in full swing.
Yes, we are.
For those of you who haven't approached social media in the last couple of weeks, this might come as a shock to you, but
Okay.
the Rogers and Hammerstein production of Carousel is
Ooh.
going to be the topic of our conversation today. The Sandhills Broadway series and Touching Humanity, Inc. are going to be presenting the production of Carousel. It's going to be the topic of our show. The show will be June 29th, which is a Thursday, and Friday evening, June 30th at 7:30 at the Robert E. Lee Auditorium.
Ooh, nice.
We're going to be talking about some of the specifics of the production, where you can get tickets, items of concern just with the logistics, but there are a lot of storylines behind the production today, and we're going to be touching base on many of them. We have 5 guests involved in the production with us, and I just want to introduce everybody before we have a conversation with Michael Pizzi. Kirsten Foyles, who is the legal counsel at First Bank, who is the assistant musical director of the production Carousel, and who has been a past guest on the show. Music is a big part of her life. It's a big part of her children's life. She's not just a great lady, she's a mentor, a coach, and inspirational to a lot of students who look up to her, and that's one of the coolest things about being a good adult. Kirsten, good morning.
Wow, thanks, Bill. Good morning.
How are you?
I have to come here more often.
You have to come here. You're welcome to come here anytime. To her left is Dr. Terry Sinclair, who is the director of Carousel, and Terry and Kirsten have a history. They have done quite a bit of collaborating on different musical projects, and you have become a very dynamic team, and you're going to be speaking about some of the elements of the show today. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having us and helping us promote this production.
We want to promote the production. We want to promote the reasons for the production, and to speak about some of the reasons is Helena Wallen-Miller, who is here. Helena, I understand you, your husband, and your daughter are all going to be singing in the production. Is that correct?
And my son.
And your son.
Yes.
You're a school board member of the Moore County Schools, and you've been on the show in the past, and you're a strong advocate for public education.
I am. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's something that, and there's a lot of conversation in Moore County about the public schools, and Carousel is in some ways directly related to that and in some ways tangential, but we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about that as we go on. Michael Pizzi is here, and Michael is the founder and artistic director of Touching Humanity, Incorporated, which is a nonprofit theater and educational organization committing to using the arts and education as a charitable means to empower and create services and opportunities for children and adults with various disabilities. That's another whole storyline we're going to talk about today. Your resume reads like a farmer's almanac, and rather than me sit here and try to go through, we're going to talk with you in just a minute. And you're from New York, and I want to find out about the origins of how you got here, how this all came together. And finally, next to finally, a friend of mine, Andrew Lyons from First Bank, and in the 9 years, Andrew, that we've done the show, I think the name First Bank has come up on this show probably more than any other organization in Moore County as far as the support that the bank gives to various causes, education in particular, and you've been a big part of that.
Well, you're kind to say that, Bill. It is important to First Bank to support all aspects of the communities that we serve, and you've always been great in spotlighting First Bank, and we really appreciate that.
Well, it's you guys are great partners in the community. And last but not least, I want to introduce a young lady who's been on the show in the past, Mary Costanza. Mary is actually going to be one of the student performers in the production as one of the dancers.
Yes.
And you've been on the show before.
I've been on before 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, 4 or 5, you know.
I'm an old pro.
So I was thinking when we got together that you and I have a lot in common. You're 18 now?
Yes.
Okay. When I was 18, I had a resume like you do. I don't know if you knew that or not. And I want to compare mine to yours, just so you know you're on the same playing field with me, okay? So I was 18, and let me read to you what my resume said. I was born. I ate 3 meals a day, drove my parents crazy, and barely graduated high school. It's pretty impressive. No, I mean, and everything I just said was true. I played basketball, and I worked on my foul shots. How about you? Tell me a little bit about your resume, because you're going to have a hard time competing with that.
Well, I'm currently dancing with a local studio, Taylor Dance, under the direction of Gary Taylor. I also dance with his sister company, High Point Ballet. I have danced with American Ballet Theater through their national summer intensive programs in both New York City and at University of North Carolina School of the Arts. I'm currently working as an assistant student athletic training aide for my high school varsity football team, which early mornings, late night games. And I've just graduated from high school, and I'm heading to Wake Forest University in the fall to study a pre-med track. Go
Deeks! See,
You went to Wake Forest?
I actually went to Wake Forest and graduated from Wake Forest.
Workforce.
I could neither get in there nor afford to go there today. But
Right, today especially. So Mary, is that it? No, I mean really, that's your resume?
Yes,
So
for the most part.
So if I roll back to 1968 or 69 when I was about 18, you and I had a lot in common,
Yeah.
right?
We've
You just
been
said,
best friends.
yeah, I think, and so much to talk about. You're going to be going to Wake Forest in the fall on a scholarship.
Yes, they were very generous.
You are you have a lot of talent. I don't think you would have passed me in the hall and not even knew I was there.
I would have noticed.
You would have waved and said, "Throw that guy a shilling." So you're excited about this production?
I'm very excited. As a dancer, I don't get the opportunity much to work with theater people, and so there's also some other students at Pinecrest who are in the production. Rachel Gross, Clay Cooper. I love both of them, and it's really cool to get to collaborate with them because I haven't in this medium yet.
The word collaborate, I learned that word about 6 years ago. I just learned it. I'm using it now. It's part of my vocabulary.
Working vocabulary.
You see how much we have in common? Yeah. Michael, I want to start with you.
Yes. Thank you.
We communicated, I think, way back in March when Kirsten first told me about the production. How did you all get together? Tell us about, you've been an actor, a producer, creator. How did you all get together and start this?
Well, it actually started probably a year and a half ago when I moved this to the area from New York City. I bought a place in Pinehurst. Just love the area, love the community.
Right.
We had some friends here already and just really was looking for what I call a pre-retirement home. And found this beautiful community. And the more I live here, the more I realize what an incredible community it is.
Right.
So I've been doing concerts for charity since I got here. I realized there was no musical theater here. And I wanted to bring musical theater, given my background as an equity actor. So I started doing some concerts, bringing some of my Broadway friends down, and doing concerts, but they're all for charity. And I always wanted to do a major musical concert style, semi-staged, and I needed to find the right collaborators. So I put the word out a little bit, and somebody recommended this woman by the name of Terry Sinclair. And I heard by virtue of their relationship, I needed to also have Kirsten Foyles there too. And I'm like, okay, I don't know these women. What am I going to do? I haven't vetted them or anything. But because of the people that actually referred them to me,
Right.
I knew that they were probably pretty great.
Right.
And they have been the most amazing collaborators.
Right.
I don't want to do any shows without them from here out.
Right.
They have been incredible, and I'll tell you why. I live in New York City most of the time.
Right.
So I'm bringing my Broadway folks down, who I've been rehearsing up in New York. Terry and Kirsten got together an 80-member chorus, an 18-piece orchestra, middle schoolers, high schoolers, all to participate in this work. And I am overwhelmed, absolutely overwhelmed with
Right.
their support
Right.
and their generosity and their kindness.
Right. And their passion.
Sorry?
And their passion.
And their passion and commitment. I mean,
Right.
I know my passion and commitment, but I think I found my equals.
Right.
Which is so wonderful, especially when it's such a small community. It's just incredible. And then because it's for charity, I was tossing around, how do we do this for charity? What charity? And I mentioned it to them, and Kirsten said, I know one. The Public Education Foundation of Moore County.
Right.
And I said, okay. She said, let me talk to some people.
I got to stop you for 1 second.
Sure.
So, Andrew, you got a phone call from Kirsten, didn't you?
I did.
That's the next step,
Yep.
right?
That's exactly.
And you knew.
That's right.
You took her
What
off
do you
speakerphone.
want me to do,
and said, let me cancel my appointments, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. That's just the way she works. You know, collaboration, getting everybody involved.
And over the
Yep.
years, we have learned we just pretty much do what she
Yep.
asks.
Yeah, that's right.
And I do too.
And that's the truth.
That's right.
Tell us about your association with the foundation that he just referenced and why Kirsten called you before anybody else.
Yeah, sure, Bill. And you and I have talked about this a few times over the years. I moved here about 10 years ago, and about 6 months into my tenure, Ken Crow said, you need to come and visit this group. And I sat in and loved what they were doing, basically raising money, supplementing. At the time, there was a little bit more money coming in from D.C. and the state. But basically, the Public Education Foundation raises money and gives it to teachers who come to us with grant requests that are creative in nature. You know, it was a quick ascension to the presidency of the Public Education Foundation. About 4 months after my first meeting, somebody said, "Oh, Andrew, that's great. You're the new guy, and you're the president." And I haven't done a very good job of my succession plan because I'm still the president of the foundation. We've got about 18 folks, all volunteers, and they're all just passionate about public education. And we've already, after talking to Kirsten, I think the next day we set up a separate account for basically an arts endowment, and we hope that it's a very successful venture here.
Helena, I have to ask you, you've been intimately involved in the public education system, and as a parent, you're very sensitive to the needs of fundraising for the arts, for the schools in general. Grant money is very difficult to come by. Our world has changed. So you got involved after Kirsten and Andrew made that first connection?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this because the arts are something that the schools need
Right.
additional funding for some fun things that they want to do. And it's not something that the school system can provide. But our teachers are so innovative and thoughtful in thinking about what kinds of services can they get, or what kinds of tools can they bring into the classroom. And so when I was talking with Kirsten about this, and the fact that the Public Education Foundation has set up a separate line for these grants, I think a lot of teachers are going to be very excited. And I've already heard from many of them about what kinds of innovative things they'd bring into the classroom to really enhance the classroom for their kids.
Yeah. Michael, I grew up in northern New Jersey, and like Andrew, our school system, our public school system, was very well funded. We had much higher property taxes, and the teachers were paid exceptionally well. Not always the case in Moore County, and yet we ask so much of the teachers here, and so they're passionate, and you'll never meet a good teacher who's just out there for the money. They're out there for the kids. So thinking outside the box and getting grant money for some of these teachers, they want to enthusiastically participate, don't they, to do anything they can to help benefit the kids, Elena?
They do, and some of the things I've heard, and these are small grants, it's not, $10,000, $20,000. These are much smaller grants.
Right.
That they can, buy some puppets with, for instance. I heard from one theater director who said, he would love to bring puppetry into his theater program because it really bridges a lot of different disciplines, and you can bring in some Asian influences because of how they used puppets. Another was looking at bringing in different kinds of instruments into the classroom, into an elementary classroom, or some instruments that have left their usual life, I would say. But these are just ways for the teachers to try something new to engage kids, because you're never going to know what's going to engage a certain group of children, and really bringing these things to them that they would not otherwise see. We don't live in New York City, so we don't have the amount of resources and just a lot of different types of people that come to New York City with different instruments and talents and art, and so to be able to bring some of that here and expose our children to that is really exciting.
The fundraising portion of the production of Carousel is one of the most important elements of it. The day is Thursday, June 29th, and Friday, June the 30th. Both shows are at 7:30 at the Robert E. Lee Auditorium. Tickets are $50 for VIP seating, $35 for general seating, $30 for senior military, and $20 for students. We're going to come back in the second set. We're going to. I want to start talking to Dr. Sinclair. We're going to talk about some of the creative aspects of the production, and we'll be back. This is All Things Moore County.
He comes home every night in his round bottom boat with a net full of herring from the sea. An almost perfect boat.
If I told you my plans and the things I intend, it'd make every curl on your head stand on end.
Welcome back to All Things Moore County. As a bumper music, we'll tell you we're going to be playing the music from Carousel during the entire show. The show is going to be performing Thursday and Friday, June 29th and 30th at 7:30 at the Robert E. Lee Auditorium. In part, it's a fundraiser for Moore County Schools and the arts program. And Terry Sinclair, who is the musical director of Carousel. Terry, you're also the director of music at the Community Presbyterian Church, and director of choral activities and professor at Coastal Carolina University.
Yes, sir, I am. Yep.
Sounds like I could have compared my resume to yours, too. I mean, same thing as Mary. You're right. I wouldn't have been able to compete. You and Kirsten have collaborated on a couple of things. The thing that I'm most impressed about is how you got some of the students from Moore County involved in this production. I'd love to hear that story.
Well, sure. I'd like to just piggyback a little bit on what Helena said earlier. I am a music educator, and I did teach at Pinecrest High School for 4 years, just a couple of years ago. And
when Mary was a kid.
Absolutely. Right.
Right.
Way back when.
Way back when.
So I'm completely aware, even as a college professor, of the need for funding for the arts. Even at the college level, we're the last ones to receive funding most of the time.
Right.
So this is, when Michael approached us with this project, I'm like, yes, sign me up. So And so we went around, mostly Kirsten doing that, in all honesty, went around and visited most of the schools in the county, getting the teachers invested as well as the students. And so the student involvement, I hope, is because they recognize that this is going to benefit what they love to do. And we're actually involved, speaking of collaboration, she and I are also involved in creating a presentation that deals with STEM teaching, and we don't have to go into a lot of detail about that in this particular broadcast, but it has a lot to do with how the arts benefit education overall, and brain inactivity and connectivity, and so enhancing the arts programs in the schools benefits students in all areas of learning. So I think that has a lot to do with. I think there's a perception of the arts in the schools as being very ancillary and sort of disposable to a certain extent. It's fun. The kids get to have fun, creative activities and sing and dance and play. But there's so much more to it than that students learn in the classroom. And so much more to that into how it helps their brains develop in other ways that benefit them across the curriculum. So that I'll say that as background, and then Kirsten, why don't you? Because you were really the one who was more involved in getting the students involved in this project.
Sure. Yes, we really wanted the students involved in this because this is not only to benefit them, but when you look at all of the school board funding issues that were going on, the students were showing up to these meetings because they're so passionate about it. This gives them the opportunity to make that difference that they're looking for with their time and involvement and their resources. So we've got a number of high school students that are part of the adult choir, in addition to the ones that are singing lead roles and dancing. And then for the middle schoolers, I had some great help from some of our middle school chorus teachers here in Moore County. They agreed to teach the ending song. And so we have some middle schoolers who will be in the audience, and I don't want to give too much away, but they'll be joining us at some point in the production.
Oh, wow.
A surprise ending, bring your Kleenex.
Yes.
The arts are very much, as a kid who grew up playing sports, the arts and sports are no different in terms of the self-esteem that it leaves with the students.
Absolutely.
And Mary, I bet you when you look back on your high school career, you're not going to remember a specific algebra class that you took. What are you going to remember? What were some of the highlights when you look back? And they all have to do with the arts, don't they? And your achievements.
I feel like the arts have they serve a really good purpose in training the whole person. And what's really interesting about this and what we're doing with Carousel is that as a dancer, I obviously have to designate a lot of my time outside of school and make sacrifices for my scheduling because I have a half-day schedule that I've been able to work out with my principals, and they understand. But then with my teachers, sometimes there's a underappreciation of what I'm doing. And so what's cool with Carousel is that now we're getting involved and we're raising money for the schools, and we're kind of looking at them and saying, this is like what you undervalued, but look at what we're doing and what we're giving back to you. Look at how our teachers should be proud of us now because we're not playing football or baseball. We're going around and we're stimulating the whole brain, as well as being the athleticism of dancing and the persona that you have to have with musical theater.
You and I had so much. It's too bad we didn't know each other. I was on the same wave of thought as you are right now. Your sister also benefits from the arts, and she gets challenged and pushed every day. She probably has the same recollection as you do.
Yes, she's a little bulldozer. She's coming along. She's trailblazing. She's coming up right behind me, and it's been really interesting to watch.
Right.
She actually had her first large, potted number that she was featured in our final performance for this season. And probably one of my favorite memories will be in a few years just watching her on stage for the first time really hold her own. And then of course I started crying because I was just so proud. And then my partner looks at me and he goes, "Oh, are you sentimental?" It's like that's my love.
Aw.
The need for this type of fundraiser, this isn't just a one-shot opportunity. You have to continue to think outside the box to do other types of things to keep the money coming in and to keep the focus on the arts. And it's challenging. Andrew, I'm sure you get calls from a lot of people, and Kirsten calls. It's like, remember the show Batman as a kid? Okay, so whenever they called Batman and Robin, there was a separate phone that had like a light that when she calls.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Same thing.
Let's keep it that way.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
This is one great opportunity to wrap your arms around, but there are others, and it's a 12-month a year exercise.
That's exactly right, Bill. And we really try to be open to as many opportunities as we can. And Terry talked a little bit about the STEM and the STEAM. Science, technology, engineering, math. Well, the STEAM adds the arts part, and so we have a separate STEM funding bucket, if you will, and now we have this arts bucket. And I think it's quite appropriate, and we're always looking for opportunities. And we really just want to get the word out that our teachers and our schools and our kids need this money and need all the help that this community can give them. It's a great community. You and I have talked about that
many times.
And that's why Michael came here and loved it. You see it. The people here are amazing, and I think they recognize the need for this sort of action.
Yeah, Michael, it's an intimate community, and word travels pretty fast around here. It's not like an urbane, area. I mean, and things like this can grow. And coming from New York, it's kind of cool for you to see it. And I think you're taken by it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's why I love it down here, because it's not New York City.
Right.
It is such a beautiful, small, intimate, supportive community, and we need more musical theater here, because there is children learn from by a variety of means.
That's
and,
right.
I know as an occupational therapist, I did research with kids who have autism and had them in a performing arts group. And our results actually showed that the parents said, my child reads more, my child participates more, my child is actually working with the music teacher more, and they're sitting still, they're concentrating, they're focused from a 6-week, 1 hour a week performing arts class. That's it. So if those results show up for these kids, imagine what it does for other children who are not as challenged. And I think that we do not support the arts enough. There's a great example that I've shared with Andrew and Kirsten and Terry. Kids try out for sports teams all the time.
Right.
There are only limited spots, and you have to have certain skills for those sports teams. Children try out for the performing arts. There are no limited spots, and everybody's included. It's an inclusive activity, because anybody, despite their skill, they can help with programs, backstage, on stage. You don't have to be the star to be included and supported and cherished and nurtured. And I think those are the kinds of things that we're missing out when we don't fund the arts.
Right. Amen.
Very well said. We're going to come back in the third set. We're talking all about Rodgers and Hammerstein's production of Carousel and what it means to Moore County, June 29th and June 30th, Thursday and Friday at the Robert E. Lee Auditorium at Pinecrest High School. We'll be right back.
Catching herring, bringing it to shore, sailing out again and bringing in more and more and more and more. River pushes every little wheel that wheels beside a mill. June is busting out all over, the ocean's full of jacks and jills. With her little tail a-swishing, every lady fish is wishing that a male would come and grab her by the gills. Because it's June.
Good. Good for you. Good for you. I can't wait to see your future.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was what you were going to major in. I just assumed, you would get an art, some sort of arts-related degree, but you don't need that, do you?
I'm doing, dance is very different, whereas a degree doesn't mean much anymore. Unless you graduate and you go into like pedagogy and you want to study, you want to teach and train and choreograph. But as a performer, the best approach you can do is to just audition for companies and get in, which I'm going to do. But I also didn't want to go the conservatory route because I would like to potentially go to med school.
And I think we're back on too. We didn't even need to do any bumper music. It's just too much conversation going on. and we just got you a little bit too far from the microphone, but that's okay. We just had you on camera a little bit there. Yeah. Michael, we were ending the second set. Tell me very quickly about how you, as an occupational therapist, where did that come? Where did that piece come from with your theatrical background? How did the two meet?
Oh, sure. I've been performing since the age of 6 when I sang Edelweiss in my first grade concert.
Did you really?
My music teacher.
I was there, I think.
Do you remember?
First grade. I was in 3rd grade.
So we have a similar background, too.
That's right,
Our
exactly.
resumes are very similar. She asked me to sing Edelweiss, and back then, not to tell your audience just how old I am, but The Sound of Music had just come out.
Right.
And she thought that would make a great song to sing. So I was grateful. But ever since then, I was hooked. And when I went to school, to be honest, we grew up pretty poor, and I had an opportunity to go to occupational therapy school, and I took it versus going into the theater, because I thought back then the theater, all those starving actors, quote unquote. So I get a chance now to actually, in my later years, my more mature years, to actually empower others by doing the things that I'm doing. I rather watch other people shine.
Right.
In my 20s, I wanted to shine, sure. But in my 50s, I love watching other things develop. I actually love creating. And that's what this is all about. But creating with such collaboration is magnificent. It does often bring me to tears, because it's not every day you find people who are on the same page as you, who want the same things as you, and really want to create with you. Those kinds of collaborators are very, very hard to find.
So the student aspect of the production will be near and dear to your heart. But there's another element too, and that has to do with the people from Broadway that you're bringing down here. This is just not going to be a local production. You want to talk a little bit about some of your star power?
Sure. When I started doing musical theater here, I really wanted to combine local talent with Broadway talent.
Right.
And living in New York City, I have a lot of friends who are performing on Broadway, have performed on Broadway. Tony Capone, who is playing our Billy Bigelow, our lead, actually understudied the role in the revival. And Tony and I performed together in dinner theater when we were much younger. And Tony, we had rehearsal the other night, and he sounds sensational, and I cannot wait. Crystal Kellogg is playing our Julie Jordan, who just got off the tour of Finding Neverland, was on Broadway in Finding Neverland, and she and
Zachary Prince,
Rock of Ages, she was in. Zach Prince.
He was in Jersey Boys.
Yes, he was.
One of my favorite plays.
He played Frankie Valli on tour. He was incredible.
Yeah.
And has done 3 Broadway shows.
Right.
And my friend Lacey Jordan is playing Carrie, and she is just a dynamo performer who has sung with many orchestras.
Have they been down to Moore County before? This her first trip?
Lacey actually did my Valentine's show.
Oh.
We did it as a charity for Friend to Friend. Okay. And it was wonderful. She and my friend Jason Gauthier, who's been on Broadway in Bring It On and The Bronx Tale.
Yeah. Just so you know, you're speaking to somebody who was raised on, unfortunately, Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy movies with my mom. She thought, I'm just going to put culture in him.
Kirsten's shaking her head. She doesn't know what y'all are talking about.
So's Andrew.
They don't know. That's why there's a generational difference here. She would drag us as a kid. My sister would sit there and
Is it
love it.
Ronald McDonald, did you say? Yeah, I was right on Ronald McDonald. Yes. Oh.
We have some generational gaps here. And my favorite story about Kirsten is I asked her if she ever listened to a song performed by Gordon Lightfoot. She said, "Oh, thank you." You know what she said? Who?
No.
Who? Gordon Lightfoot.
He gave me a CD. I've listened to him now.
I did. Can you
I might
imagine?
need to get that CD.
The stars of yesteryear.
Come down, you better take it.
Yeah.
That was
Nice. Are you
Andrew.
singing?
I'm not in the production.
Oh my God! Should we thank God for that? I don't know.
Disclaimer.
The presence of Tony and Zach and Alicia
And Crystal.
So how do you think the kids, the students, are going to feel around all that star power? That's a memorable, that's an indelible
Starstruck.
impression. Starstruck, huh?
Well, they
Terry?
always amaze me. College students continue to amaze me every day. So I would be scared to death if it were me at that age. But
Right.
I think they're going to have a ball. I think they're going to be super excited, and I think this is just going to inspire them to just do their very best. I think it's going to jazz them. I
Yeah.
really do. Don't you?
Oh, I agree. Definitely.
Well, my daughter has just finished one full year of doing musical theater, so I think
How old is your daughter?
She's going to be 9 in 2 weeks. She would want me to say that.
And she's going to sing, and she's going to be.
She's our youngest
Wow.
member
She will.
of the cast.
So is
she
she
will
a
probably
fourth
be
grader,
starstruck.
third grader?
She's
Yes.
going into 4th grade, and she's very excited to be on stage and participate. She has done a full year now with Imagine Youth Theater here in Moore County, and just to your point, Michael, I have seen her reading ability and her ability to concentrate and her excitement about school and particularly reading has really taken off this year. And in the back of my head, I've been saying to myself that it has been because she's now reading for a purpose and not just for for school or tests and that kind of thing. And it has been really wonderful to see her take off with the musical theater program here in Moore County.
But I will tell you that knowing Helena's daughter, she will not be scared. She'll walk right up to those Broadway stars, introduce herself, and audition for them.
She doesn't have a shy bone in her body.
And she's awesome.
Kids are different today. We've had some kids on the show over the years when they were kids, and they just come right up to the microphone and they're comfortable. I would have had been cottonmouth and at a very young age, very afraid. Performing in theater, you put yourself out there, and almost more so than in a football game, you can hide on the offensive line and you can be part of the team. But when you're in front of all those people as a young child, the nerves can get you, huh?
I think there's definitely a persona about musical theater people. Their vibes and like the aura that they emit is larger than life and really takes over the whole room.
Larger than life, kind of like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dancer's a little bit more reserved, but it's very obvious when you're in a room with musical theater people.
But I have to say, too, Bill,
Michael?
I could not have done this show without Mary.
Right.
Because she is, and her dance partner, Nicholas, because there is a 12-minute ballet, which we've cut down a little bit, but a huge part of the show is about the ballet and about showing the character of the offspring of Julie and Billy.
Yes.
And it's a really important ballet, and I'm so excited because we have dance, we have music, we have kids, we have Broadway stars. It's just an incredible group of people. I can't wait for people to see this.
Thank you. And it's very inspiring for me because this is really the first time I've had to take on a character role and more have to step out of my own comfort zone of just being a technician and a dancer and having to put myself into the shoes of another person who actually has like a backstory and a storyline. And my choreographer, Gary Taylor, he's absolutely brilliant. There's not a single thing the man can't do. He's worked with me from Nutcracker to now we're doing Sinatra to tango and salsa, and now he's helping really put me into this character role. and we'll go through the 8 counts, and it'll be like, okay, what is the intention behind this? And this look, you want to turn your head ever so slightly to look back at your partner. And it's so inspiring because I'm out of my comfort zone acting-wise. So I'm growing as a dancer with this.
How about you and I talk about a
performance.
sequel to this? We'll just call it the Mary Costanza Show. I think we should do it. You could pull it.
That's right.
You could pull it off.
We can do that.
You don't want to?
Yeah.
We could
We
get your
can- we can-
sister.
we can do that.
We can sit and talk about it. We can kind of plan it out. Are you
Yeah,
game?
let's go. Let's do it.
Okay. We might do something before you go away to school.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Let's go.
Okay.
We can.
Bring Mary's mom on.
Oh, I
too.
think so.
She's a big talker.
Oh. Mom.
That's going on the air.
Mom.
Apologizes, Dana.
Yeah, at least she won't know that you said
No
that, so that's
okay. Let's talk a little bit about the specifics of the production. Ticket sales. I understand that you can go online at touchinghumanitync.org.
Right.
And that's an interesting website, by the way.
Thank you.
With what you were talking about, we have a lot of, and I know a lot of moms who have students, who have children that are students in some of their special needs kids. And the moms have a lot to manage, and a lot of the moms get to know each other that way, and there's a big presence of that here in Moore County. But they can get tickets online at touchinghumanitync.org. Tickets can also be found at, where else can we get them?
Given Memorial Library
Uh-huh.
and at the Campbell House, and hopefully as of this weekend, also at Community Presbyterian Church.
Yeah, and there are going to be a couple of special pre-theater meals being offered in the area. I think Ironwood is one of them. But in either case, if you go on social media, if you go on Facebook, you guys have done a great job of posting the flyer, and in the last couple of days, I've seen a couple of specials, anything to entice people to come. And for those parents who have students who are not in the program, bring them to the production. That is a great way to expose them to seeing their peers performing.
It is, and honestly, that's how a lot of these kids started performing. They went to something, they saw another child in it. It's one thing to go and see adults performing, but when they go and see one of their peers and they go, oh, I can do that. And I have to say, the businesses around town have been so great about putting up posters. My daughter went all around downtown Southern Pines yesterday, and almost every business said sure, and said, here, give us the postcards, we'll hand them out to everybody. It's again just another example of this community.
I've had
a lot cheaper than going to New York City, too.
Right.
Just saying.
It's true. We're bringing New York down to the Sandhills, let me tell you. But again, we've had an amazing marketing team. The chorus is helping us. Everybody's helping us put out posters and postcards, and and word of mouth is really what's going to help us. And thank you so much for your help and time. This is very helpful to us.
Absolutely, and just to conclude that line of thinking, we really have, if people will vote with their feet and come to see this production, first of all, you're going to see somebody on that stage.
That's
we probably have 100, more like 150 local people involved in this production in one way or another.
Right.
But we have the opportunity to make a real impact here. We have the opportunity to make a real difference.
Right.
And so, I get very passionate when I think about it. All of this work that's being done by so many people, spearheaded by the fabulous Michael Pizzi, who I've been honored to get to know and work with, and hope to work with again.
That'll happen.
Oh, that will happen.
I can already, I can feel the
no
vibrations
choice
at the table. I already know.
But it's not going to be a little drop in the bucket. It's going to be, it has the potential to raise funds that can make a real difference.
Yeah. I need somebody to explain to me the term semi-staged, because I think it's an important distinction for what people are going to see. Michael, you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. So most people expect a big Broadway show with costumes and lighting and sets and everything. Semi-staged concert version is where everybody will be on stage, including the leads, at all times.
Right.
The leads will dress sort of like their character, but it's no costuming. We do have some light and sound that is professional, which is wonderful, and it could be script in hand, which means that the dialogue does not have to be memorized in a concert semi-staged production. So we don't want to mislead people and think they're coming to see Carousel with lights and sets and all kinds of and people not having a script.
Will it be more of a workshop type environment? Is that
No, it's
not
actually
the way to describe it?
It's a concert, as if
Okay.
like when you go to a concert, sometimes there are music stands and people have their music in front of them.
Right.
Same thing with the actors.
Okay.
Good
Yeah.
analogy.
I got
What's
it.
cool about that though is you can really see what the work that goes into it.
Oh my
which
gosh.
is even more inspiring because I don't think normal people understand what all we have to put
Normal
into
people,
it.
they don't. That's why I want to have you on the show
There's
again.
humans and then there's artists.
Right. And Mom
Here,
talks
here,
talk.
Mary.
They're a human. Thank you. I know my place after today.
Quote of the day.
Then there's you and me.
I am. I'm going to wear a football helmet and hide in the huddle.
But Mary,
I've
we
been
need
in the
those.
huddle before.
We need those artists to buy those tickets. I mean, those humans
Yes.
to buy
Right.
the tickets, right?
And
to inspire them.
Bill,
Kirsten?
one thing I wanted to add, piggybacking off of Terry's, is if we sell out Pinecrest, which is our goal,
Right.
and it is so possible.
Right.
If we sell out Pinecrest, there is the opportunity to possibly start this account with the Public Education Foundation with almost $20,000.
Wow.
And if this is a success, we want to do this with future projects to continue funding that account. So we're really hoping that Moore County gets behind this and supports it.
So let me say this. I want to buy a dozen tickets. And what I want to do is I'll distribute them to people who might not otherwise have an opportunity to go. So who would I speak to do that? You.
Go to www.touchinghumanitync.org.
Okay.
And Bill,
We'll spread the word
I'll
out.
match the 12.
Okay,
All
that's
right.
24
Oh my
tickets.
God.
There you go.
That's
Okay.
great.
That's great. And
Thank you all.
you know, in closing, we get back to the fact that this is to benefit the Public Education Foundation of Moore County at the end of the day, to promote arts programming in the schools. Mary Costanza is as much evidence as you need to see that supporting the arts develops great young adults.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. You like being in the spotlight?
So yes.
So I could be your host or something. I mean, maybe you could interview me. We could. I mean, I could help maybe a little.
I'll generate some questions. I'll
Yeah.
get on that.
You must drive your dad crazy. No, kidding.
Oh, having us in a conversation together is like going in circles.
I know.
Cross-examination.
You just keep coaching them.
Yeah.
You just keep coaching them. Carousel is going to be at the Robert E. Lee Auditorium at Pinecrest High School. Thursday and Friday, June 29th and 30th at 7:30. We want to sell out the auditorium, kick off the summer, create a lot of indelible impressions for not just the students who are performing, but for the students who might come with their parents to see the production. Kirsten Foyles, Dr. Terry Sinclair, Helena Miller. I always want to use your, just Helena, I'm going to say.
That's just fine.
And you tell your 9-year-old daughter, good for her.
I'm excited. She's
I
excited.
bet. Michael Pizzi, it was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Andrew Lyons, as always. Too bad we can't finish with a little Jethro Tull for Andrew. And Mary Costanza, who I think you might want to just replace me on this show. And I
We
think
can
you
work
would do.
together.
Can we? You keep me on for like 6 months. And we'll be good. Then
Transition.
you can phase me out. Rogers and Hammerstein's Carousel. Please buy tickets. Please support the cause, the children, and the Moore County schools. This is All Things Moore County. Have a great week.